General Agriculture Definition of Terms, Part 2. Breeding stock refers to a sexually mature male and female livestock that are trained to produce offspring. Breed true, to have the ability to transmit a characteristic uniformly to offspring. Breed type, a particular type or form characterizing a breed. It includes special breed features in head, ears, color, or other traits common to a particular breed. Broiler, any young bird, grown usually for 6 weeks in order that it may weigh 1 kilogram after that period. Brood, a group of baby chickens. Brood animal, is an animal reserved for breeding and raising of young. Brooder, heated enclosure or hood for young livestock. Broodiness, desire of birds to set in a nest on eggs for the purpose of hatching. It is the natural behavior for hatching and rearing young. Brooding, a process of subjecting young animals to heat and warmth in order to increase their chances of survival. Broodmare, is a term used to indicate the use of the mare for breeding purpose. Browse, leaves, buds, and woody stems used as food by deer and other animals. Brucellosis, a contagious disease in beef and dairy cattle, which causes abortion. Same disease in humans is known as undulant fever. Brush, commonly refers to undesirable shrubs and small trees. BST, bovine somatotropin, commonly referred to as growth hormone. Produced naturally by the cow, stimulates metabolic functions related to growth and milk production. Buck, mature male goat. Bucking, it is the process of cutting down the trunk or branches of a tree into sections. Budding, a form of grafting in which a vegetative bud from one plant is transferred to stem tissue of another plant. Budgeting, is the process of determining requirements, allocating of resources and estimating the returns for the different activities of the farm. Buffer, is a substance that prevents a rapid change in pH when acids or alkalis are added to the soil. These include clay, humus and carbonates. Bulb, a leaf with fleshy scales, usually subterranean. Bull, a male bovine of any age used for breeding. Bull calf, young male cattle under 1 year of age. Bullock, usually a stag used for draft purposes. Bull yard, exercise enclosure for bulls. Bunch type, is the growth habit of grasses that do not spread by rhizomes or stolons. Bunny, a young rabbit. Burl, twist in the grain bones, may refer to cartilage or dorsal processes of the thoracic vertebrae. Byproduct, is a product of considerably less value than the major product. Calcareous soil, an alkaline soil containing sufficient calcium and magnesium carbonate to cause visible efflorescence when treated with hydrochloric acid. Calcification, used by some to refer the processes of calcium carbonate accumulation. Calcitonin or thyrocalcitonin, is a hormone that lowers calcium level in the blood, thus, has an opposite effect to that of parathormone, which increases calcium level in the blood. Calf, young cattle of either sex under 1 year of age. Calf crop, calves produced by a herd of cattle in season. Calve, to give birth to a calf. Same as parturition. Calving, refers to the parturition of Carabao. Calving interval, the amount of time, days or months, between the birth of a calf and the birth of a subsequent calf, both from the same cow. Cambium, the one-cell thick layer of tissue between the bark and wood that repeatedly subdivides to form new wood and bark cells. Candling, it is the process of subjecting eggs to light to check fertility. Cannibalism, a habit of some fowl of pecking at other fowls. Canola, is an oil rapeseed, processed for use as a cooking oil. A crop that has been a target of genetic engineering. Canter, a slow, easy gallop. Capillarity, is the process by which moisture moves in any direction through the fine pore spaces and as films around particles. Cupinization, is the removal of the testicles whether by surgical or chemical means. Capons, male chickens that have had their reproductive organs surgically removed. Carabao, a Philippine water buffalo or swamp buffalo. Carabeef, refers to the carabao meat. Carabao, a Carabao bull, Caraheifer, Caracal, etc. Caracalf is a young carabao of either sex under 1 year of age. Caracal is a female carabao. Caraheifer is a young female carabao below 3 years of age. Carastag is a male carabao castrated or unsexed after the secondary sexual characteristics have developed. Carbonate and sulfate rock-forming minerals, carbonate and sulfur ions are present. Examples are dolomite, magnesite, anhydrite, and gypsum. Carbon dioxide concentration, the carbon dioxide component of the mixture of gases of the atmosphere. Carbon-nitrogen ratio, C/N, the weight ratio of carbon to nitrogen in organic matter. Carbohydrates, is any foods, including starches, sugars, celluloses, and gums, that are broken down to simple sugars through digestion. Carcass, the body of a dead animal, the whole trunk of slaughtered animal. Carnivorous, meat-eating animals. Carrying capacity, maximum number of individuals that can be sustained by the agro-ecosystem without causing a degradation of the ability of the environment to support the animal or plant species. Carryover, existing supplies of a farm commodity not used at the end of a marketing year, and remaining to be carried over into the next year. Cash crop, is a crop produced for direct sale for cash, as contracted with crops produced as livestock feed. Cash flow, is also called net benefit. In project analysis, it is the amount remaining after all outflows are subtracted from all inflows. Cash grain farm, a farm on which corn, grain sorghum, small grains, soybeans, or field beans and peas account for at least 50% of value of products sold. Castrate, to remove the testicles or ovaries of large animals. Catabolism, a metabolic process by which complex substances are converted by living cells into more simple compounds. Catch, any material collected during a test run. Cation, a positively charged atom or molecule. Cation exchange capacity, CEC, the total potential of soils for adsorbing cations, expressed in milligram equivalents per kg of soil. Determined values depend somewhat on the method employed. Compost, a routine measure of the binding potential of a soil, measures the soil's ability to remove negative ions from metals and other compounds, allowing the ions to form insoluble compounds and precipitate in the soil, determined by the amount of organic matter and the proportion of clay to sand. The higher the SEC, the greater the soil's ability to bind metals. Cation exchange, is the exchange between cations in solution and cations held on the exchange sites of minerals and organic matter. Cattle, a domesticated bovine animal. Caution, indicates a potentially hazardous situation that, if not avoided, may result in minor or moderate injury. CEC, a measure of the potential of a soil to give up or exchange positively charged ions or molecules. Cellulose, a carbon component of plants, not easily digested by microorganisms. Certified milk, is a fresh milk of high purity to be delivered to the customer within 36 hours. The number of bacteria is 10,000 or less per ml. Certified seed, is a seed that meets rigid standard of purity and germination and is so designated by an authorized agency. Cervix, is the portion of the female reproductive tract between the vagina and the uterus. It is usually sealed by thick mucus except when the female is in estrus or delivering young. Chemical dehumidification process, is a process where the water vapor from the air is absorbed or adsorbed by a hygroscopic material. Chivan, meat products of a goat. Chick, young chicken regardless of sex. Chlorinated hydrocarbon, synthetic compounds that contains chlorine, hydrogen, and carbon, a main ingredient in some pesticides. Chlorophyll, is the green coloring matter of plants that take part in the process of photosynthesis. Chloroplast, refers to the true cellular organelle in which chlorophyll is located. Chlorosis, is the yellowing or blanching of leaves and other chlorophyll-bearing plant parts. Sea horizon, is the layer of weathered parent rock material below the horizon of the soil but above the unweathered rock. Chromosome, Carrier of genes. Clay, a soil type consisting of particles less than 2 micrometers in equivalent diameter. Claypan, a dense, compact layer in the subsoil having a much higher clay content than the overlying material, separated by a sharply defined boundary. Cleavage refers to the ability of a mineral or rock to split along predetermined planes. Climate is the total long-time characteristic weather of any region. Climate change, the slow variations of climatic characteristics over time at a given place. Clone is a group of organism composed of individuals propagated vegetatively from a single original individual. Close breeding, a form of inbreeding animals. Closed shop is an establishment in which the employer by agreement hires only the union members in good standing. Clutch, the eggs laid by a hen on a consecutive day. CN ratio refers to the proportion of carbon and nitrogen in fresh organic matter, humus, and whole soil. The CN ratio has significant importance in agriculture, because the proportion of carbon and nitrogen in organic matter affects its decomposition. Coating, a layer of a substance completely or partly covering a surface. It is composed of a variety of substances separately or in combination. Includes clay coatings, clay skins, calcite coatings, whole soil coatings, etc. It may become incorporated into the matrix or be fragmented. Cock, a mature male fowl. Cockerel, young cock. Co-composting is a composting process utilizing carbon-rich organic material including leaves, yard waste, or mixed municipal solid waste, in combination with a nitrogen-rich amendment such as sewage sludge. Pod, the part of the scrotum left after castration. Coefficient of linear extensibility, the ratio of the difference between the moist and dry lengths of a clod to its dry length. LM-LD, divided by LD. When LM is the moist length at 1/3 atmospheres, LD is the air-dry length. The measure correlates with the volume change of soil upon wetting and drying. Coleoptile refers to the sheath covering the tip of the leaf of a grass seedling as it emerges from the soil. Coleorhizer refers to the sheath covering the tip of the first root from a seed. Colic is a nonspecific pain of the digestive tract. Coliform grouped bacteria, a group of bacteria predominantly inhabiting the intestines of man or animal, but also found in the soil. Colostrum, the first milk secreted pre- and postpartum. Colt, a young female horse usually up to 3 years old. Commercial, 1. A carcass grade of cattle. 2. Livestock that are not registered or pedigreed by a registry, for example. Breed, association. Common stock refers to the capital stock in excess of the value of the assets of the issuing corporation. Community nest, large nesting boxes for 3 to 6 layers. Compact farming is a system of grouping continuous land holding for the purpose of operating as one farmstead. Resources for production are pooled together from among the other member. Compaction, increase in bulk density due to mechanical forces such as tractor wheels. Companion crop is a crop grown with another crop, as a small grain with forage crops. Comparative advantage is the special ability of a resource to provide or produce one product or service relatively more cheaply than the other products or services. Comparative advantage is the special ability of a resource to produce one product or service relatively more cheaply than the other products or services. Comparison combine, the combine or combined configuration with which the test combine is being compared. Compensatory gain is a faster than normal rate of gain after a period of restricted gain. Competitive enterprise is an increase in the production of one makes a reduction in the other, given a particular level of resources. Complementary enterprise refers to when a transfer of resources to one product and an increase in the production of it are accompanied by increase in the production of the other. Complementary genes are genes that interact, which when both are present, a new or novel trait appears. Complete and perfect flower is a flower with all parts of the perianth and pistil and stamen. Complete planning and budgeting takes the whole farm as the subject for decisions. It considers all expenses and returns so that the figure indicates the performance of the entire farm. Complete supplement, dietary component containing high concentrations of protein, vitamins, and minerals, and with which an energy source is mixed to produce a complete diet. Composite breed, a breed that has been formed by crossing two or more breeds. Composite structure, any combination of different types of beds. Compound interest, is the interest paid not only on the amount borrowed but also on the interest earned in previous periods. Compound structure, large beds such as prisms and columns that are themselves composed of smaller incomplete beds. Compression failure, rupture of the wood structure resulting from excessive compression along the grain. It may develop as a result of bending in the living tree or during felling. In surface lumber, compression failures may appear as fine wrinkles across the face of the piece. Concentrate, a feed that is high in energy, low in fiber content, and highly digestible. Concentrates, feeds low in fiber, usually under 12%, and high in digestible energy. Concentrations, amount of active ingredient contained in the chemical formulation. Conception, refers to the fertilization of them. The action of conceiving or becoming pregnant. Concretions, soil structural units which are irreversibly cemented together. Condemned meat, meat which is unfit for human consumption as declared by a veterinary inspector after veterinary examination. Confidence, relative frequency that the statistically derived interval contains the true value being estimated. Congenital, that which are acquired during prenatal life. It exists at or dates from birth. Conglomerate, a sedimentary rock composed mainly of rounded boulders. Coniferous forest, a forest consisting predominantly cone-bearing trees with needle-shaped leaves, usually evergreen but some are deciduous. Coniferous forests produce softwood which has a large number of industrial applications including paper making. Conjugated proteins, are those proteins that yield not only amino acid but also other organic and inorganic components, a type of protein in which simple proteins are combined with non-protein radical, that is, nucleoproteins, glycoproteins, phosphoproteins, hemoproteins, lecithoproteins, lipoproteins, metalloproteins. Connective storm, rainfall caused by condensation of warm moist air that moves upward, being cooled both by the surrounding air and by expansion. Contact herbicide, a non-systemic weed killer, one that does not have to be metabolized by a plant to be effective. Contagious, transmissible by direct or indirect contact. Contaminant, a foreign material lending impurity to a primary material. Physical contaminants of compost include glass and plastic. Chemical contaminants include heavy metals and toxic organic compounds. Contemporaries, refers to a group of animals of the same sex and breed, or similar breeding, that have been raised under similar environmental conditions, same management group. Continuous data, dating is considered continuous if the instrument measures and records data once each minute or more frequently. Continuous duty, a service requirement that demands operation for an indefinitely long period of time. Contour farming, system of farming used for erosion control and moisture conservation whereby field operations are performed approximately on the contour. Contour strip cropping, a modification of contour farming in which alternating crops are planted in strips, usually include strips of close-growing, erosion-resistant forage. Contract crops, are crops eligible for production flexibility payments, wheat, corn, sorghum, barley, oats, rice, and upland cotton. Contract growing, growing animals for someone else for a fee. Controlling, is the process of ensuring that actual activities conform to planned activities. Cooperative, is an organization owned collectively by members who share its profits and benefits. Corm, is the hard swollen base of the stem. Corn cob, part of the ear corn where the kernel are attached. Corn ear, pistillate inflorescence of the plant Z maize L. Enclosed with a leaf-like protective covering known as husk. Corned meat, is a prepared meat cured by soaking with or without injecting into it a solution of common salt with or without one or more of nitrate, nitrite, sugar, dextrose, syrup, honey, and with or without the use of spices. Corn variety. This refers to the common name or specific varietal common name of a given shelled corn variety, that is Pioneer, SMC1, BPI, etc. Corporation is a group of people who gets a charter granting, as a body, certain legal rights and liabilities of a single individual. Corpus luteum is a yellowish body in the mammalian ovary. The cells that were follicular cells develop into the corpus luteum, which secretes progesterone. It becomes yellow in color from the yellow lipids that are in the cells. Cost accounting. A system of accounting in which records of all cash and non-cash costs chargeable to any enterprise as well as cash and non-cash returns are kept for the purpose of preparing an account to show costs of production, returns, and net profit or loss on the enterprise. Cost of gain is the total cost divided by the total pounds gained, usually expressed on a per pound basis. Cost of production, the sum, measured in peso, of all purchased inputs and other expenses necessary to produce farm products. Cotyledon is the first leaf of a plant as found in the embryo. Coulomb is the amount of charge that flows through a given cross-section of a wire in 1 second if there is a steady current of 1 ampere in the wire. Cover, vegetation or other natural shelter serving to conceal wildlife from predators. Cover crop is a crop grown between orchard trees or on field between cropping season to protect the land from leaching and erosion. Cow, mature female cattle for breeding. Cow-calf operation, a management unit that maintains a breeding herd and produces weaned calves. Credit is the transaction between two parties in which one, creditor, supplies money, goods and services and other securities on the basis of a promise that payment by the other, debtor, would be due at a specified time. Creditworthiness is the ability of an individual, firm or nation to meet its debt service obligations. For a firm, a judgment about creditworthiness is often formed on the basis of one or another financial ratio. Creep feeding is a system of feeding young animals prior to weaning. Crop area, the field surface area allocated to each plant. Crop feeding, a system of feeding young animals prior to weaning. Cropping intensity is the total cultivated area on a farm divided by the total cropland. Often reported as a percentage. Cropping pattern is the area devoted to, and the sequence of crops produced by a farmer or in a region. Cropping systems is a modification of cropping systems such as crop rotation and mixed cropping. Crop residue, portion of a plant, or crop, left in the field after harvest. Crop rotation, the planting of some crops like vegetables, cereals, and legumes after harvesting the main crop. Crop year, generally, the 12-month period from the beginning of harvest of a particular crop. Crossbred is an animal produced by crossing two or more breeds. Crossbreeding, the mating of animals of different breeds. Crossing over the physical exchange of chromosomal material between non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes. Cross-pollination is the condition in which pollen from an anther on one plant ultimately fertilize a flower on a different plant. Cross-section, the surface would cut at right angle to the grain. Cross-slope, the slope perpendicular to crop rows. Crust, a surface layer of soils that becomes harder than the underlying horizon. Crystallization is the process by which magma solidifies. Critorchid or riduling, a stallion with one testicle or none in the scrotum, the other or both is held inside the abdominal cavity. Cucurbits vines are vine crop vegetables yielding edible fresh fruits. Cud, a bolus of regurgitated food, common only to ruminants. Cull, to eliminate one or more animals from the breeding herd or flock. Culling, the process of eliminating non-productive or undesirable animals. Culling rate, the rate of removing undesirable or unproductive animals within the herd. Cultivar is a cultivated variety within a plant species that differs in some respect from the rest of the species. Culture medium any nutrient material prepared for the growth and cultivation plant tissue. Curing compartment, space within the barn which is filled with tobacco. Curing compartment volume, the curing compartment area times the distance through the tobacco. Current assets consist of cash and items expected to be converted into cash within a reasonably short period, usually 1 year. Custom cost, the amount paid for hiring equipment and operator services to perform a certain task. Custom work, specific farm operations performed under contract between the farmer and contractor. Cootability, fat, lean, and bone composition of meat animals. Used interchangeably with yield grade. Cutants, coatings or deposits of material on the surface of beds, stones, etc. A common type is the clay cutant caused by translocation and deposition of clay particles on surfaces. Cutting, a part of a plant used for vegetative propagation. Cycling, infers that non-pregnant females have active estrus cycles. Cyclonic precipitation, results from lifting of air converging into low-pressure area or cyclone. Cytokinesis, the division of the cytoplasm to form 2 new cells. Cytology, is the study of the structure, function, and life history of the cell. Cytoplasm, refers to the contents of a cell outside the nucleus. Hope it helps. Thank you for listening. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell to stay updated. See you in the next part. Bye. Roar.